Hello, folks are joining us right now. I can see they're logging on, so we'll give folks just a minute to get logged in, and we'll get started in just a minute. It takes a second for everybody to be logged in. I'm thrilled that you all are joining us today. Talking about a really powerful topic of how to transform your organization through coaching. So I'm going to go ahead. It looks like we have a lot of folks logged in. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have a session filled with information for you as you're thinking about how to use this powerful tool of coaching in your organization. I am Jamie Lewis Smith. I'm the CEO of Pixel Leadership Group. I'm an organization development psychologist. And if you don't know about us, we help organizations to leverage behavioral science to create an empowered organization. So we know that better managers and people-centric cultures lead to thriving employees, and that's good for them. It's good for the organization. It's good for everyone. And if you haven't been with us before, we like to say we're nerdy but fun, because we're a bunch of data scientists, psychologists, organizational researchers who are really interested in bridging the gap between what we know in the literature of behavior and organizational science, and bringing that to leaders throughout organizations to really increase their effectiveness. So my question for you as we're going into our content today is, I want you to think about, what if you had the key to all of these great things: employee retention, hybrid work, toxic culture. We hear a lot about quiet quitting, inspiring leadership, filling capability gaps, organizational change, inclusion, belongingness, mental health. We hear a lot about burnout and well-being. Having that tailored employee experience that we know so many organizations are struggling right now to figure out, to really engage and retain their employees. We're creating a learning organization, creating getting the benefits from an organization that really has that growth mindset and uses it to innovate and to grow, and much, much more. What if you had the key to all these things that we know that so many organizations are struggling with? Coaching is the key. Coaching is the key to these things because it helps individuals to develop skills and behavior. It helps them to think about how to change in order to be more effective. We know that coaching, it really focuses on creating that learning orientation and a growth mindset in individuals, both that participate in coaching. So if somebody engages in coaching, they develop more of a learning orientation. But as leaders engage in coaching, they then start to encourage a learning orientation with the folks that they lead. We know that leaders become more effective, managers, leaders, I'm using those words interchangeably here, become more effective as they engage in the coaching process, when they're focusing on, intentional about how they're showing up, how they're influencing and impacting others. Coaching leads to benefits to the employee, and in many different ways. We know that they're more engaged, they're more effective as employees, better productivity and performance. And overall, we know that the research ties coaching to better organizational results. Essentially, what coaching does is it accelerates the growth. It accelerates the acquisition of skills. It accelerates habit formation. So coaching, through the process of coaching, it helps the individual who is participating in coaching to speed up the growth process. And if done right, coaching helps to sustain the change, because we know that through training, for example, we do see improvements in productivity, in behavior change. We see improvements in performance, for example. And one study here that you can see found 22% increase in productivity. But when you add coaching, when you have coaching in the mix, you see 88% improvement in productivity. So it increases, it amplifies and accelerates the development of the individuals who participate in coaching. And some of you maybe have been with us before. I like this visual because I think it's really powerful. what we know is that training and feedback are really important. They are. We need that knowledge. We need the inputs from others. But in and of themselves, folks have a short blip, a change in how they're behaving, or a change in how they're thinking as a result of receiving feedback or engaging in a training. But we know that eventually there's a regression to the mean, or regression to where they were before, because they don't have the reinforcement necessary to sustain or continue to build upon what they're learning. So coaching through repeated engagement, reinforcement, application, and learning helps an individual to change far more, far quicker, and to sustain that change over time. One study found that when you combine coaching with training, you saw an increase in employee productivity over 80% when you had the two together. So why is coaching so important now for transforming our organizations, transforming our teams? Why is this? It's critical right now, I believe. The pandemic in particular, it's triggered a huge shift in the workplace and how employees think about and experience their workplace, their expectations of the workplace, and even more importantly here is the expectations and needs that employees have of their leaders and their managers. One of the things we've seen, a trend that's happened over the last year or so, is, I love this graph. It's from SHRM. You may have seen it before. And this is showing you the trends of quit rates. So employees quitting their jobs over the last 20 years, about 20 years. And that orange line that is sticking out is showing you what happened in 2021, the year of 2021. And so there was a huge influx of individuals leaving their jobs. So of course we heard the Great Resignation. What we found in 2022, this trend continued. Workers are continuing to quit. And what is happening? What has changed that has led to this? And not only is it important to understand what's changed, but we need to understand that this level of turnover is costing the US economy quite a bit. In 2022 alone, the estimate is $1 trillion was the cost of all the employee turnover that we saw just last year. So what's been going on? Why are people leaving? What is the research telling us? So McKinsey shared in their Great Attrition Survey, the top 3 reasons people said they were leaving were that they did not feel valued by their company, that their manager did not make them feel connected. They felt their manager was not creating an environment that they wanted to stay in, and they lacked a sense of belonging with that company. So they didn't feel like they belonged, they didn't feel valued, and their manager weren't making them feel connected. And I will say that all 3 of these things we know can tie back to managers. Bad managers cost you money. This has been shown over and over again in the research. If we go back to those 3 things, yes, the manager is, in terms of one of the reasons people explicitly said, I left because of my manager. So we know that that's a key reason that people are leaving. But whether or not somebody feels connected to their company, valued by their company, a key connection point there is their manager, helping them to feel valued by their company. And whether they felt a sense of belonging, again, the manager is critical in creating that experience for those employees. So as I said, bad managers cost organizations money. It was estimated that on a yearly basis, the bad managers are costing the global economy about $8.1 trillion. So huge impact to the economy. And frankly, exiting employees say that their manager could be doing something to prevent it. More than half say, my manager could have stopped me from leaving, but many times they don't even try. The managers aren't doing anything about it. And in another study, we found that Gallup found that managers accounted for 70% of the employee engagement experience. So whether or not employees are engaged, whether they're feeling connected to the work that they're doing, is very much related to the way the manager is bringing them in, engaging them in the work. Another study found by MIT Sloan and Glassdoor, they found that employers said the number one reason that employees were leaving over the last year or two was compensation. So they felt like people are leaving because they want to be paid more. And of course, people enjoy getting paid more, and that's something that they are considering. It is not the reason we've been seeing these huge trends in turnover. As a matter of fact, less than 10% left because of their pay. That same study found, however, that toxic culture was more important than compensation. As a matter of fact, 10 times more important than compensation. Toxic culture was the reason that people were leaving. And this again goes back to the manager. Now, of course, we know that organizational culture can be broader than one single manager, but a good manager can insulate a team and an individual from experiencing extreme toxic culture. And on the flip side, managers who are not effective can create a toxic culture or encourage it on their teams. So in a very recent study this year, in the State of the Organization report by McKinsey from this year, they found that there is a huge disconnect. Employers are focusing on solving this turnover problem, solving the challenges that we've been facing since the pandemic with transactional elements like changing benefits and improving pay. Whereas employees are saying, we want more relational factors. We want to feel connected. We want to feel like we are cared about and we belong in our workplace. And this disconnect is leading to the continued trends that we've been seeing over the last few years. There's been a shift. People want different things from their work, especially since the pandemic. So what do they want? What is the research suggesting? These are the top 6 things out of a multitude of surveys and studies that have been conducted over the last just couple of years in 2022, 2021, and 2023. What employees are saying is that they want to feel meaning and purpose from their job. They want to feel connected and that they belong in their organization. They want to feel valued and appreciated. And as though their managers and their organizations are committed to growing them and helping them to develop. They want more autonomy and a flexibility that is coming through loud and clear, and generally less stress and more balance. So we're seeing high rates of burnout and employee wellness challenges in the workplace. And so they're looking to their managers and their organizations to help them to overcome what they're experiencing. And I challenge you to think, are you preparing your managers in your organizations? Are they being prepared to be catalysts of these 6 things? Because that is your leverage point. An organization's leverage point to creating that sense of more purpose and feeling appreciated and developing employees and reducing that sense of burnout and stress. Managers are the critical leverage point or the catalyst for that experience of employees. I love this quote by Hypercontext and Gallup. Managers are the single most important benefit any company, any organization can offer their employees. Just sit with that for a minute. Managers are a benefit. Too often we don't think of our managers as a benefit. We think of them as a structural mechanism, maybe to ensure that there are results that are achieved, but not necessarily a benefit. And they really are. And if we start to think about our managers as a benefit to the employees, think about how the focus that an organization puts on the benefits that they are providing to their employees. And if we put that much focus and energy into managers, the impact could be huge. So what can organizations do in order to transform how the results you're getting and how your employees are experiencing your organization and your attention, your engagement? Invest in your managers. So help your managers to be the catalysts of the employee experience. Help them to focus on those critical components that we know that employees want, but yet managers are not focusing on. And where to start is with coaching. So coaching, we know, is a very powerful accelerant of growth and development for skills and a shift in mindset for managers to help them to be the catalyst of those things that we want for our employees. And when I say start with coaching, I actually mean this very broadly. So helping your managers to develop the skills and shift their mindset, as well as helping your managers to coach, helping them to develop the skill, because we know that coaching as a management skill is critical in creating wonderful benefits for the organization as well. So some of coaching's impact, and some of you maybe have attended, we have another session that we talk about the impact of coaching, but I'll share a few numbers with you here because it is so impactful. One peer review study that we are sharing here, it showed that coaching was very powerful in leading to a lot of the things that we want to see from managers. Better self-awareness. Almost everybody that participated in coaching have that increased, deepening self-awareness. They're more effective at managing their direct reports, 90% more effective. 80% improved goal setting and prioritization, which I know from my own personal experience working with hundreds and hundreds of leaders, prioritization is a challenge for many, many managers and leaders. 78% maximize contribution to the company. So they're improved, their performance is improving, their productivity is improving, their discretionary effort, they're giving more to the company, and there's better results for the organization. We see increased engagement and productivity, and you see that both if you're a manager participating in coaching, that manager or leader increases their engagement, they're more engaged, they're more committed, they have better productivity. And there's a secondary effect that the folks that they lead, because that manager is managing more effectively and connecting with their employees, we see increased engagement and productivity as a secondary effect of managers participating in coaching themselves. And we see improved communication, both across with peers, upwards, across the organization, and with their employees. But other studies also show some other great advantages of using coaching. 32% in retention of employees as a result of having your managers participate in coaching. Almost 40% gains in customer service. So we see, and by way of improved experience for the customer, the client, the people you serve, we also see increased commitment, customer loyalty, and retention of customers as a result of utilizing coaching. Improvement of organizational strengths, increased job satisfaction, again, both for the individual who's participating in coaching, but also for those that they lead. Strengthen peer-to-peer relationships, which we know is a challenge, and better teamwork as a result. And as I'm sure you can imagine, then all of this really impacts the bottom line. You see improved profits, increased market share, increased revenue, and higher customer satisfaction. So a number of studies have looked at the return on investment of coaching. One study found 788% return on investment. And this is actually more in the middle of the range. So we see, maybe 5-6% or 5 or 6 times return on investment from coaching in some studies, but it goes all the way up. Some studies say that it's maybe 14, 15, 17 times the investment that you're putting in coaching you see as a result, because there are not only those direct benefits for the leader or the manager who's participating in coaching, but you see all of these secondary and tertiary benefits that because of all the people and relationships that they're impacting as a result. And the outcomes of coaching, what we see happens is you see improvements in all of those things that we know this coaching directly impacts the experience of employees in a way that it improves all of these things that they're looking for right now. So how do you tap into the power of coaching as an organization, as a leader? How do you use this extremely powerful resource? So I encourage you to think about, how do you infuse coaching into your culture, into how we do things in order to really supercharge connection, innovation, and performance. And part of this is to provide the skills to the leaders and the managers throughout your organization. Part of this is to provide them the opportunity to engage in the coaching process. We know that only about a quarter of managers are considered to be highly skilled in fostering individual and team engagement. So many managers and leaders need support in developing this skill set. And again, too often we don't provide them this opportunity to grow. And manager skill is critical in terms of their coaching skills. So if they're going to leverage coaching to amplify their impact, we know that the more skilled a manager is at coaching, the more likely they'll get those impacts. So one study found that managers who were in the top 20% of effectiveness of coaching, they had 2.5 times more discretionary effort from their employees. So discretionary effort is they're giving more, they're giving their all, they're going the extra mile for their role. The top 20% of effective coaches in managers who were effective coaches had 5 times more satisfaction and commitment from their employees, and they had 2 times less employee turnover. So helping your managers to leverage coaching for themselves to develop their skills, accelerate their skill development, and helping them to utilize coaching to get better, to encourage better results from their employees is a really powerful way to amplify the impact of your managers. So some of the types of coaching to leverage, and I'm not going to go into depth on these, but not only what you might consider traditional coaching, which you might call executive or leadership or workplace coaching, where an external coach or even an internal coach is working with your managers. That's really powerful. But also consider, how do you develop your manager skill as coaches? How do you encourage peer-to-peer coaching so that they have helping them to develop the skill and then help each other? That builds community, it builds improved communication across peers, and it helps them to grow in the process. Using pod coaching, so small groups of individuals who engage in coaching with a coach, and or conversational coaching. So this is where we adopt a more empowering style to how we engage with others in our workplace. So all of these are wonderful ways that you can leverage coaching. So before we wrap up, I want to share a few best practices in how you can leverage the power of coaching. So thinking about in your organization, in your team, what are some of the best practices? Treating your managers as a valuable employee benefit and making sure you're investing in them to develop their skill. They will in turn help to build up your employees and help them to feel more connected to the organization. Make developing their skills a strategic imperative. Hopefully, I shared enough data with you today that you can see the linchpin that managers are to the outcome of organizations. And this is all the trends suggest that this movement towards more relational connection, thinking about the what you might call softer skills of managers and how the impact that those have, although they're, I think, harder to develop for many. That's the direction we're headed as a society. So it's going to be even more important for managers to develop this skill set over time. Adopting coaching as a part of your culture, and even if you have an internal leadership model, how do you expect your managers and leaders to be coaches and to leverage this skill set, and encourage it, and encourage them to focus the time on developing their skills as well as applying those skills. Enlist your executives, your senior leaders to be champions, help them to develop the skills, help them to encourage this as a part of how we do things here. One organization I worked with previously, they had an expectation that managers and leaders spent 50% of their time teaching, coaching, and mentoring. And that sounds like a lot of time, but it is time well suited for supporting employee productivity and performance and outcomes. Support your manager's growth through training and coaching. So find opportunities to combine these two because it really amplifies the impact of either. Make coaching easy, routine, easy for them to do. So provide them tools, provide them opportunity, make it just as easy as they can so that you're able to leverage the benefits and they're able to build it into their busy days. Encourage that peer-to-peer coaching because it does create community. Collect and provide feedback. So help your managers, help them to get the feedback they need about their skills, their coaching skills, their leadership skills. Give them feedback so that they know where they need to improve, as well as encouraging them to take action around it. Build it into the expectations. I mentioned that expectation with the organization I worked with previously, where they had the expectation. Our leaders will teach, coach, and mentor 50% of their time. That's a huge commitment and a message from the organization that we expect this from our leaders and managers. So think about for your leaders and managers in your organization, what can you expect and how do you build it into the review and expectation process? And recognize and reward success. Show the organization that you value what coaching brings to the employee experience and to help to really elevate your manager and leaders' skill sets. So from here, some continued learning opportunities. Here's some of our favorite books about coaching, especially The Coaching Organization, which you see here by Hunt and Weintraub. They talk about really how do you bring coaching broadly into your organization to help to transform the team or the organizational culture. How do you leverage this? Well, but all these books are just great. We have some manager master classes coming up that helps to develop skills, components of the skills we're talking about here. Feedback, becoming an empowering leader is very much steeped in the skill set of coaching and how to create a culture of psychological safety. And if you want to learn more, we are here. We love to hear from you. Feel free if you'd like to ask questions now. There's a question and answer opportunity. If you ask any questions, I'm happy to answer them here, but also if I don't have time before we wrap up, we'll follow up with some answers via email and reach out to us. We're always excited to talk about coaching, the benefits for your organization. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about coaching, the benefits, or anything here in the last couple of minutes. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. And I'll go ahead and just hang out in case anybody has any questions. And I know I have a couple of my team members here. If there are any questions, let me know if there's anything we can answer before we wrap up. I see, I think I see one person has their hand up. Let's see. I think I may have unmuted you.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I had a question for you. Could you go back to the slides of the workshops that you talked about?
I will, yes.
Okay, so this is available through Pixel, you said?
It is. We do all virtual classes so that we can help managers from all over the country attend.
Okay, yeah, because I think the one on October 24th sounds like a good one. Okay, so I guess I can look this up on your website.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to send a follow-up message that'll give you a link to where you can find out information.
Yeah, that would be great if that's possible.
Wonderful, absolutely. We will,
awesome.
I think Brett is on the line. He'll take down a note to make sure we follow up with you and anybody else that would like us to follow up with links or information about the master classes. We're happy to do it. Thank you.
If Brett could send me more information about all of these, that would be really great.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
I sure will. And Jamie, there's a question. What's the first step to include coaching in your organization?
That's a great question. I think the first step is, well, obviously you can reach out to us and we can help you think about a strategy for your organization, but Really, I think it's how do you bring in some coaching resources to start with some of your leaders, get folks that are excited about it involved, because you really want to start folks in your organization to say, hey, I see that that's benefiting, Bob or Jane, and I want to try it too. So starting to build some support around coaching through some positive results is a really great way to start. And bringing the coaching skills to your managers would be the other thing. So teaching them how to coach is a really good start to then them leveraging the skills with their employees. And again, we really are always excited to talk about coaching, and you can reach out and we can help you think about for your specific organization, what are some strategies to bring it in. And if you're with OU, I know there's some folks from OU, we Pixel are available already with OU. So in case you're with that organization, reach out to us directly, because we can speak to you already about how we can help you. I know we're at time. Any other questions before we wrap up for today? All right. Well, thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Bye.